Hare Krishna. We welcome each one of you who are watching us live on YouTube and Facebook to this session 5 of Gita Diploma course. Today is 1st Jan 2022. What can be a more nice way, better way, and auspicious way to begin a new year? With this, I also send my greetings to all of you and my best wishes for the coming year, for all these days that you're going to get as opportunities to make your life more meaningful, more progressive. Thank you so much for taking out time today. On this day, you could have done so many things, but you have chosen to watch this session. We are grateful for that. Without any more ado, let's begin by saying the prayers. Om 𝗟𝗶𝗳𝗏 𝗃𝗏𝗀𝗃𝗃 चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhashatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri 𝗟𝗏𝗿𝗀𝗃 Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you so much once again for joining. Today is our day 5 and we are going to discuss a further step in Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 3, Krishna spoke about duty. In chapter 4, Krishna is going to speak about the art of doing work, how we can perform our duty with some knowledge as the background, so that our duty gives us the maximum spiritual and material benefit. So this chapter is about that. Know and do. Now, before we begin, some quick guidelines. We have been giving these to you since day 1 because they're very helpful. Some of you must have tried the quizzes. Now, here is the trick to get the maximum score in the quiz. You hear the session, and if you want to score full, you should hear it once more. If you do that, then you won't miss the many points that we covered in 90 minutes talk, and you'll get all the answers correct. Sometimes some concepts are difficult to understand for the first time when you hear it. So when you hear it twice, you will know it better. Second, quickly attend the quiz after you've done the session so that you remember all the points. And if, let's say, you are watching the recording and you are not having time to watch 90 minutes at a go, then you can watch it in installments, 30 minutes one day, 30 minutes another day. In this way, you can keep the pace along with the course and not miss the sessions. And at the end, it will be like too many sessions to do and you may become discouraged or demoralized and you may say, now let me not do the course. Let me just drop out of the course. So these are a few guidelines. Before we go to our chapter 4 discussion, let's discuss about chapter 3. We'll just do a brief revision, what we discussed in chapter 3. So chapter 3, Arjuna had asked a question to Lord Krishna. Should he perform his work or should he give up his work? Should he detach? Tyaga, renunciation or activity? What is better? What is more preferred? So then Krishna explains the path of Nishkama Karma Yoga. He tells Arjuna, you must work. You should not give up your work, but you should work with a certain attitude, which is to not be attached to the result of your work. You should work for my pleasure, my satisfaction. You should work for the purpose of sacrifice, yajna. And then after that, in order to explain more in detail why yajna or sacrifice is needed, Lord Krishna explained that there are people, administrators, the demigods, who help us in fulfilling our needs, our desires. And in return to what they do for us, out of gratitude, we should be doing sacrifices. So he explains the purpose of sacrifice. He explains about the need of sacrifice. And then in the next section, Krishna is going to speak to Arjuna, or he spoke to Arjuna about setting a good example. Arjuna was saying, why should I fight? Why do I need to fight? And then Krishna explains that you are an ideal person, a leader for many who are here, and in order to teach them, in order to set a good example for them, you should fight. Do it as a matter of duty, not only for your personal goals, but also think collectively, think for the benefit of more who are around you than to think of just yourself. So become people-centered, people-oriented, then self-centered, self-oriented. And in then the next section, Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna that Arjuna should be, Arjuna should, just a second please, some technical fault, I am not able to move to the next slide. Yeah. That Arjuna should, when Arjuna explains why, what happens to us that we are not able to do what we are supposed to do, even though we know what we should be doing, then Krishna explains there is some force inside, that is your internal enemy, and that's called lust. And you should win over this enemy. The goal of your life should be not just fight the external battle, but also fight this inner battle. Now, every time we begin by asking a question, so this time also we have a question for you. Of course, those who attended our previous session, they would know the answer to this question. How can we win over the inner enemy? While chapter 3 discussion was concluded, Krishna gave this answer to Arjuna, that this inner enemy can be won by two things, by doing two things. So what are those two things? How can we win over this inner enemy? Anyone would like to try? Okay, someone said practice and detachment. No. You have forgotten what we discussed in the previous. It was a very simple answer. What were two things that Krishna told in order to win over the inner enemy? There are two things which he said. Okay, if you are not able to recall, very good. Vijay Krishna Mataji has given the right answer. One of them is spiritual intelligence, and the other one is spiritual strength. So these are the two things. By spiritual intelligence and by spiritual strength, one can win over the inner enemy. Then Arjuna's question would be how to cultivate or develop the spiritual intelligence and spiritual strength. And then Krishna is going to speak further about that. That's how we come to chapter 4. Now, before we go to chapter 4, I would like to do some background setup for what's going to be discussed in chapter 4. Please try to understand this very well, because this is very, very relevant. It's not something which concerned only Arjuna, but it's something which is very, very essential for us also. Now, again, we ask a question to you. When we come across our bad habits, we realize we have some bad habits, and we try seriously to overcome those bad habits, but we are not able to do so. What feeling does it give to us? We know we should be overcoming those bad habits. We try, but we are not able to. We succumb to those bad habits. So how do we feel when we get defeated by our own bad habits? Let's see what will be replied to this. Today, again, I'm getting very late response from all of you. Maybe there's an internet lag and feeling of powerlessness. Someone said shy, someone said frustrating. I'm looking for an exact word. There's a particular word. Frustrated, yes, quite discouraged also. Something else? How do we feel? It happens with all of us. Our bad habits, they overcome us. I request all of you who are saying about screen bring blur, please check your YouTube settings and make the video resolution to good quality. Do it 720p, then the screen will be clear. If you'll be watching it at 420p, then or less than, no, you won't be able to see it clearly. Okay, now I'm getting the more appropriate words. Guilty, self-defeated, you feel bad, you feel like you're a loser, and you don't want to show your face to others, isn't it? That's what happens. And it happens with all of us. Many a times our bad habits win over us. And we want to win over them. We try a lot. Sometimes some people, they just give up. Like I know people who make New Year resolutions, and the second day they say, we can't do it. We'll try it next year. Now let this year be the way you are. Next year we are going to do something different. So we know if we cannot overcome those bad habits, inside we are not happy. We are not peaceful, right? So when our bad habits, they defeat us, we feel embarrassed many a times. And this was happening with Arjuna. Please try to understand. Now, after hearing from Krishna, he is having a change of mind. In chapter 1, we know this Arjuna was so weak, he was crying on the battlefield. Even he told Krishna, I cannot fight. And Krishna told Arjuna, Arjuna, you have become a coward. You are acting like a coward. People, look at them. They are seemingly laughing at you. They are thinking, Arjuna is crying. Is Arjuna really crying? If he is a Kshatriya, true Kshatriya, why is he crying? And you made yourself a matter of fun in front of everyone by acting in that weak manner. Arjuna now realized how, by his acting in such a stupid way, in such a weak way, sent out a very wrong message to all those who were assembled. And now he was embarrassed. He realized that he became a victim of his weakness. He became a victim in the hands of these inner enemies, and he was feeling guilty. And it happens with all of us. Arjuna was embarrassed. We also are so many times embarrassed by our own bad habits. So what Bhagavad Gita teaches us, it's a very important thing. Please try to understand. This makes Gita relevant for each one of us. As I told in the last session, we have two battles. One is the inner one and one is the external one. The external battle may be going to a job, struggling to earn a good amount of money, family problems, health crisis. These are all external battles. Material life has battles and we are engaged in that. But the problem is often we focus our life, we focus our energy and time only in fighting the external battles. But we overlook the inner battles. The point is, if we are defeated again and again by the enemies that are within, we can never win over the enemies that are outside. And even if we are able to win over those enemies who are outside, it's actually a defeat for us because inside we will not be satisfied, we will not be happy. Krishna has now shifted the focus of Arjuna. Arjuna was thinking, these people who are standing on the other side, they are my enemies. Krishna said, Arjuna, your real enemy is inside you. So first, check out this internal battle. First, understand the enemies inside. And first, fight over the enemies inside. If you emerge victorious, you have won the game of life. If not, you have lost the game of life. If you want peace, this is what we need to do. It's very important to understand that there's so much of chaos outside in the world because people have chaos inside their mind. There's so much of pollution outside because people have polluted heart. There's no happiness outside because people internally, they are not satisfied. How can two miserable people come together and experience happiness? Not possible. Only two happy people or one happy and one miserable people, when they come together, there can be happiness. But if there are two people who are miserable, they cannot be happy. So if you are looking for peace outside, we need to first find it inside. If you are looking for happiness outside, we need to first find it inside. If you are looking for a purpose in life, an external purpose, we need to be deeply connected inside with our true identity. We have to take a different approach towards life. And today, being the first day of this year, we can make a resolution that now we are going to live life not from outside to inside, but from inside to outside. Not from without to within, from within to without. We first of all go for transformation inside. And then with that energy, we try to do some transformation outside. So Krishna is doing a wonderful job with Arjuna. And with Arjuna, he's doing so. Likewise, he's doing so with us. So with that mode, let's try to enter into this chapter, that by development of transcendental knowledge, as Krishna told to Arjuna in chapter 3, by development of divine knowledge, can we become strong enough so that we can win over the inner enemies. So in this chapter, Krishna has a huge task. He has 4 things to explain to Arjuna, 4 questions he's going to answer. First of all, what is this divine knowledge? Second question he's going to answer is, how is this divine knowledge received? The third question is going to answer is how this knowledge leads to nishkama karma. Means by development of this knowledge, how do we get motivated to become detached from the fruits of our activities? How can knowledge help us in developing detachment? And the fourth thing, how that detachment will help us to develop further transcendental knowledge. It's like a cycle. A leads to B and B leads to A again. And in this way, there is an increment in both A and B. So this is a different kind of science. One is linear flow, another is cyclic flow. So generally, when we say A tends to B, then we would say B tends to C. So that's linear flow. But when we say cyclic flow, A tends to B and B tends to A again. In that way, A increases, B increases. When B increases, A further increases. So when we have knowledge, divine knowledge, it makes us detached. When there is detachment, more divine knowledge is developed. So then again, that cycle continues and one reaches to the perfection of life when there is 100% knowledge, 100% detachment. So these 4 questions will be answered by Krishna. Today what I'm going to do is going to give you a task. What is the task? The task is, while we discuss this chapter, I'm not going to tell you when Krishna is going to answer these 4 questions. But you'll be attentive enough, you'll try to be attentive enough so that you can let me know later when I ask in a particular section which answer was given by Krishna, in another section which answer will be given by Krishna. So there are 4 questions. If you like, you can note them down, take a screenshot so that you can answer when we ask you. Okay, so we dive into this chapter. It begins with a verse spoken by Lord Krishna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshva Kave Bravit. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to whom? To the sun god. There is a personality who lives in the sun planet, who controls the sun planet, and that personality is called sun god, and he has a name. His name is Vivasvan. And Vivasvan then instructed it to Manu, who happens to be the son of sun god, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku, who was the son of Manu. Now these personalities are not fictional characters. They are historical personalities who existed in long time ago, right? Who is Vivasvan? As I said, he is the king of the sun planet, the ruler of the sun planet, and from him begins the dynasty which is called solar dynasty or Surya Vansha. And all the kings who are in Surya Vansha are descendants of sun. Like that, there is another dynasty called Chandra Vansha. So Lord Krishna, he comes in Chandra Vansha. The Kauravas, the Kurus, they also come in Chandra Vansha. Now from Vivasvan came a person called Manu. Manu is called the father of mankind. From Manu came the word Manav, Manushya, even in English, human, man, woman. So the humankind, they are basically produced by Manu and his wife. And then the first human who basically ruled over the planet Earth as the king of Ayodhya in solar dynasty was King Ikshvaku. Now something very interesting that I'll be asking you. You can pretty easily give the answer to this question, not so difficult. Which avatar, who later became the king of Ayodhya, appeared in this dynasty? When I said this dynasty, I'm talking about the dynasty coming from the sun god. So which avatar, who would later, who when he came later became the king of Ayodhya, appeared in this dynasty? Very good. Nagaraj ji gave the answer so quickly. Lord Ramchandra. So Lord Ramchandra was a descendant of King 𝗟𝗶𝗁. In that dynasty, 𝗟𝗶𝗁 was the first king. So we understand these personalities are very, very extraordinary personalities. And Lord Krishna says he gave the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita first to the sun god. From that came to his son. From that came to his son. So here the history of Bhagavad Gita is known to us. So interesting. Bhagavad Gita is not a new book. Sometimes people say it was spoken at a certain period of time, so its knowledge is applicable only to that era. Bhagavad Gita is eternal. This knowledge is eternal. Sun God is existing since long time. I mean, since the creation, the sun exists. And Krishna gave this knowledge to Sun God. We don't know when, but sometime. And then it was given to Manu, passed on to Manu. That can be calculated. Of course, we don't have the time to show the calculation now. So as per calculation, that was given to Manu by his father 12 crore 4 lakh years ago. Or in other words, 120.4 million years ago. No, it's not 120.4 million years ago. Is it? Yes, it is. 120.4 million years ago. Then Manu gave it to 𝗟𝗏𝗁 2.005 million years ago, or 20,500 years ago. And Arjuna had received this knowledge from Krishna 5,120 years ago. One question arises, why is Krishna telling all these things to Arjuna? Why is he not giving the knowledge right away? Why is Krishna narrating the history of Gita to Arjuna? What's the purpose of Krishna behind telling all these details? What does he want to tell Arjuna? And through Arjuna, what does he want to tell us? Let's see. Let's see if you are in sync with Krishna's mind and you are able to understand why Krishna is telling all these things. No answers? No one wants to try? Arjuna is not the first person. Very good. Someone says this knowledge is not new knowledge. Yes, very good. He's trying to tell us about the system called parampara, that the knowledge is passed on from one person to another. It's a very ancient scripture. Very good. Okay, so basically, Krishna is trying to do something very important. Whenever you tell someone something important, that person should be doing it, first is to help that person develop faith in that knowledge, that this is going to work. So by telling Arjuna about all these personalities, Krishna is telling Arjuna, they were great personalities. You are a great personality, they were great personalities. You are a ruler, a king, they all were kings. They all are kings and much greater than you. And you know what? They all got benefited by this knowledge. This knowledge helped them to make their decisions. So why will this knowledge not help you? This will also help you. So in this way, Krishna is trying to create faith in Arjuna, that he begins to trust this knowledge and understand that this knowledge will help him. Now this is very important because this knowledge, it has many benefits, many attributes, but I'll say two here. First, it is time tested, which means it has passed time. Time takes a test, and many things, they fail the test of time. But this knowledge did not fail. Since time immemorial, people have been benefited by this knowledge. And second, this knowledge benefits even great people. So what to speak of ordinary people? They will also be benefited. Having spoken like this, then we will also try to give you one story. But before we give you that story, I would like to play a video for all of you, which will give a very important message to us. Of course, the message is something easily understandable, no rocket science, but still it is a deep message, because nowadays people, sometimes they think that Bhagavad Gita is not really a book of history. So the video goes like this.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
How can I help you, sir? You are in search of which book?
I am in search of Gita.
Oh, lovely. We have it. You mean Bhagavad Gita, right?
Yeah, and also I want to issue one more book.
Yeah, sure, sir. Which one?
Battle of Panipat.
Wow, you really have an amazing choice. It's a great read.
Oh, you have this too.
Yes, sir, we have a collection of all good books. For Gita, kindly go to the mythology section, which is towards your right, and for Battle of Panipat, kindly go to history section, which is towards your left.
Like why Gita in mythology section and Battle of Panipat in history section?
I did not get you, sir.
Isn't Gita hai history? Why is it proclaimed as a title of mythology?
So this is a sad truth that people consider Bhagavad Gita as mythology. And then they talk about something which happened few years ago as history. Bhagavad Gita is also history. History, Vedic history, history of ancient times. So the word mythology is not the right word. Even educated people, they use the word mythology for books like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, etc. The word mythology has been derived from the word myth or mythos, which means something false, something imagined, something fictional. So this is not mythology. It is truth. It's history. It has happened in the past. It's reality. And the characters are also real. They're not fictional. They are not imagined characters. It's not like Harry Potter. It's not like the Lord of the Rings. No, it is truth. So here Krishna is also establishing that. Now I'll tell you something very interesting actually, which I came across a few days ago, and I really liked it. So I thought I will share it with all of you. So how Bhagavad Gita, it affects people of different backgrounds, So let me check how many of you can identify these personalities whom you are able to see now on screen. Please, let's see if you know their names. Of course, you may know the name of some of the person who's on the left. You may not know the name of the person who's on the right, but some of you may know also. So identify them. Who are these two personalities? Nelson Mandela. Very good. So the person on the left is Nelson Mandela. And what about the person on the right? Okay, some of you know that. Bhakti Tirtha Swami or B.T. Swami. So there was a very interesting exchange between these two people. And that will increase our faith, our appreciation for Bhagavad Gita. So Nelson Mandela, he doesn't need an introduction. I mean, he was a very important person, a public figure in the world history. And Bhakti Swami, B.T. Swami, was a Gaudiya Vaishnava, a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and also a very revolutionary person who acclaimed so much of appreciation by the elite class, scholars, celebrities for his counseling he gave to them. I mean, really big people, they took advice for him. He was guru for many people like Nelson Mandela, Muhammad Ali, and so many of them. So they two once met and they were having a discussion. So while discussing, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he quoted a verse from Bhagavad Gita. He had studied Bhagavad Gita throughout his life. He had followed, he had taught Bhagavad Gita. So when he reached half of the verse, Nelson Mandela, he said the remaining half. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami was amazed. How do you know Bhagavad Gita? And Nelson Mandela said, you try me for any verse of Bhagavad Gita, I can tell you. So Bhakti Tirtha Swami would speak half verse and then Nelson Mandela would make it complete. In that way, they did so many verses, and then Bhakti Tirtha Swami realized Nelson Mandela knows as many verses as he knows. And he was really amazed. So he asked, please tell me, when did you learn Bhagavad Gita? Now, I can't tell you the whole life of Nelson Mandela. You can read about it. Very interesting, very inspiring. He fought for the rights of the black people in South Africa. The blacks were treated badly. So he was against apartheid, that there was racism between white and black. So he fought for the rights of the black. For that, he was sent to jail, prison house. And he spent, you can say, so many years of his life, almost like 2.5 decades, 27 years in jail. So in one particular place, he was imprisoned for 18 years. And that place was so secluded from the city. There was no one there. There are few of his friends who were also involved with him. And in order to break their willpower, their confidence, to make them mentally weak, in other words, to torture them, they would be given such boring tasks to do. So in order to keep themselves mentally very alive, one of his friends, who was from India, who had an Indian body, said, let us spend time discussing Bhagavad Gita. Now this person knew verses from Bhagavad Gita, so he would chant those verses to Nelson Mandela, and by hearing those verses, Nelson Mandela memorized all the verses of Bhagavad Gita. Later on, Nelson Mandela revealed this publicly, that in those times, all the inspiration, all the strength, and all the vision of what he's going to do in future, he received from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita inspired him to later do what he could do. And later on, we know, when he came out of the jail and time changed, then he became such a powerful personality, not only in South Africa, all over the world. And then he had such an influence over the world that one day in the year is celebrated as Nelson Mandela International Day. He gave the credit to Bhagavad Gita. And he was so, grateful to Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada made Bhagavad Gita so widely available throughout the world. So we can see here how Bhagavad Gita in the history of humanity has influenced so many people. You know, in that jail, Nelson Mandela, let me tell you what was the situation. There was a small cell. The floor had no bed. He would lie down on floor. There was just a bucket, a toilet, and he was forced to do hard labor throughout the day. And he could not meet anyone. He could write letter once in 6 months. And in such situation, he says, Bhagavad Gita was a solace. Now, if Bhagavad Gita can help people in so much of anxiety and distress, we may not be having so many problems in life. That doesn't mean Bhagavad Gita should help us only when we have a lot of problems in life. Bhagavad Gita can still help us. So that's the beauty of this book. Now, having spoken this, let us move to our next, which is Krishna explains how this knowledge is then given. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. He's explaining, this knowledge came from Vivasvan to Manu, Manu to 𝗪𝗪, but in due course of time, the parampara was broken, the succession, the chain was broken, and the knowledge was lost. And when Krishna said knowledge was lost, Arjuna became a little sad. He said, that's unfortunate. If knowledge is lost, how will I receive the knowledge? So Krishna said, don't worry, Arjuna. I'll give this knowledge again to you. So Arjuna is then a bit flattered, He's also very happy. Krishna, you're going to give me this knowledge? I mean, I'm not so special. This knowledge seems to be very special and it's given to very special people. I'm not that special. So why are you thinking of giving this knowledge to me? How come me? And Krishna says, Arjuna, you have two very good qualities, very special qualities. And they are, you are my devotee and you are my friend. 𝗏𝗏𝗰𝗵 𝗃𝗏𝗁. These two qualities you have. That's why I'll give you. Now, before Arjuna receives this knowledge, Arjuna clarifies something from Krishna. He has a doubt. He's a very intelligent student, not a blind disciple or a blind follower. He's asking relevant questions to Krishna. So he says, wait a second, Krishna, I want to clarify this one thing. Aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvataha. He's saying, you are my age. We are born at almost similar time, and you are my age. And Sun God, he exists since such long time. So how is that you give the knowledge to Sun God? You are so junior to Sun God. When did you give? He said, it's not possible. So then, to this Krishna said, Arjuna, did I not tell you in chapter 2 we discussed some time back, you and me both have taken many, many births. Krishna did say that in chapter 2, verse number 12. Arjuna said, oh yes, you said that, but then why I don't remember? I know we are Atma and then we just pass from one body to another. Why I don't remember about them? And Krishna laughs at Arjuna and said, come on, Arjuna. I can remember, you cannot remember. Arjuna says, why and how? How can you remember and how can I not remember? And Krishna says, Arjuna, come on, I'm God, Arjuna. You are not God, you are an ordinary person. I am God, I don't change body, I am the same person eternally, so I remember everything. My memory doesn't change. I don't go through a memory change. But you, every time you take a birth, you get a new body, you get a new hard disk, a memory space, and that's why you forget the past. So here we get a very important lesson to learn from Arjuna. What is that? Spirituality is not blind faith, as some people think. If necessary, questions must be asked to the guru, to the teacher. We can see Arjuna is also asking from Krishna. It's not that Krishna said, okay, Arjuna, now I'll tell you Gita, you stay quiet, silent, no questions, let me finish. No, he is allowing Arjuna to ask questions, and Arjuna is free to ask questions. That's very important. That's how spiritual life is. It's not blind faith. It is reasonable faith. So coming back to the point, Krishna tells Arjuna, you and me are different. How? 𝗟𝗶𝗳𝗏, my appearance, my birth is different from your birth. Krishna is God. Krishna is unborn. His name is Aja, which means one who is not born. But still, he appears. So that's why it's called appearance. The unborn is born. It's different from our case. Like we take the example of sun, you all must have seen the sun, yes. But then some of you may have also seen the sunrise happening from the horizon. So is it that the sun takes birth that day? What happens? When the sun comes out of the sea or the horizon, is it really called the birth of the sun? Is the sun born every day? And then at the evening time when it sets, is it that the sun dies? What happens? What is the reality? Can we call it as the birth of the sun? Oh, that's not a tough question. It's a pretty simple question. No, sun is not born. Sun, we know it rises and it sets, which means it appears to us and then it disappears from our sight. Even when the sun sets, it's just that it sets out from our vision, but the sun is present somewhere else. In some other country, in some other place, people are able to see the sun. The sun is always present. It only goes out of sight, comes into sight. So we call the sun has appeared, has risen, or the sun has set, disappeared. Likewise, Krishna compares himself to the sun. He says, I appear, I disappear. I don't take birth, I don't die. That's a very important point for us to understand. That's make God different from human beings or normal living entities. Living entities, they take birth, they die, which means they change the body. Krishna does not change the body. Krishna does not have a different mind in a different life. Krishna is the same. And he's the Lord of all living entities. But then he comes again and again. Like, I explain this in this way, which makes it very easy to understand. When a person is very great, very big, he owns like many factories and he has thousands of employees working under him. We see often they don't really go to their workplace, their work area. Once in a month or once in a week, they make a scheduled visit and they just go for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. It's fixed. I mean, they go, they see overall everything is working fine, and then they come back. Like that, Krishna or God, he comes to this world as per his scheduled visits. They are pretty much fixed. When he is going to come, in Brahma's day, which time is going to come. Today, we don't have that much time to go into the depth, but this is quite true. So, Krishna then explains to Arjuna that, Arjuna, I am unborn, but I appear. And Arjuna asks, when and where do you appear? So then Krishna speaks this very famous verse. I'm sure all of you must be knowing this, or you must have heard this. Yada yada hi dharmasya 𝗟𝗶𝗵𝗲 bharata abhyutyanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. He says, wherever and whenever. Two things. Arjuna asked when and where. So Krishna said, wherever and whenever. What happens? There is a decline in practice of religion. People become irreligious. They don't know the scriptures. They don't follow the scriptures. They become averse to the scriptures. So Krishna said, at that time, because people break the laws of nature, I come to mend the situation. I come to rectify the situation. So the place is also given wherever it is happening, and the time is also given whenever it's happening. And then Arjuna says, okay, you come, so do you have a purpose? What do you do? Krishna says, I do three things. I have some purpose. What is that purpose? So Krishna or Krishna's any incarnation, when they come, they have three purposes. Krishna explains that. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. First, paritranaya sadhunam. Those who are good people, the dharmic people who follow dharma, Krishna comes to protect them. He's telling indirectly to Arjuna, Arjuna, you and your four brothers, they are very religious, very pious. So please have faith in me. I have come here to protect you all. You won't be defeated, I promise you, because I come to protect the good. Then annihilate the miscreants, those who are wrongdoers, mischief mongers, who break the laws. Krishna punishes them. And he did that. We see whenever Krishna comes as Rama, as Lord Krishna, in any avatar we see, he punishes the miscreants. And then third, re-establish dharma. The Kauravas, they are adharmic. The Pandavas, they are dharmic. So by killing or defeating the Kauravas, Krishna will make the Pandavas the king. And when Pandavas become the king, because they are dharmic, they will enforce the following of dharma in the kingdom. So everyone will become dharmic. So in this way, that is the whole idea, whole goal of Krishna behind the Mahabharata war. So now we've discussed something about Krishna and Avatar. So let me ask you a question. We'll ask here two questions to you. First, how many times does God incarnate? Can it be counted? That Krishna or his different incarnations, they come for a specific number of times and we can count them. How many times they appear? Can it be counted? Oh, someone asked that question. Very interesting. Someone asked that question in the comment box. How many times? Can we count it? No, we cannot count. Very good. Thank you. It cannot be counted because there are innumerable avatars. How many avatars? As you can see on the screen, as many waves are there in an ocean, that many avatars are there. So even the scriptures, they don't give us an account of all the avatars. They give us account of only specific chief avatars. So the different avatars, they can be put into 6 categories. How many number of avatars are there? Categories of avatars are there? 6. So here in the screen, we'll show you all of them. The first is Purusha, second is Guna, third is Leela, fourth is Manvantara, fifth is Yuga, sixth is Shakti Avesha. We don't have time to go again into depth of this subject, but these are 6 categories. Purusha avatar, like 3 Vishnus, they are Purusha avatars. 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃 Vishnu, kshirodakshaya Vishnu, karanodakshaya Vishnu. Guna avatars, again there are 3 Guna avatars. Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu. Then Leela avatars, many Leela avatars, like Lord Ramchandra, Lord Krishna himself. Manvantara avatar, in every rule of Manu, in Brahma's one day, there are 14 Manus. So in every rule of Manu, there is a specific avatar called Manvantara avatar. Then Yuga avatar. There are 4 yugas in one cycle of Divya Yuga. So every yuga, there is an avatar. And the last is Shakti Avesha avatar. These people, they are not really God. They are not in the category of Supreme Lord Vishnu, but they are living entities, normal living entities, who have been given special powers, extraordinary powers. That is called Shakti Avesh. Shakti means power, and Avesh means to put inside. So when you put these extraordinary powers in these people, they become extraordinarily powerful, and they become, sometimes they look like God. So we have many Shakti Vesh avatars, like Vyasadeva is one of them, Parshuram is another one, Prithu Maharaj is another one, Narad Muni is also another one. So if you want to know more about these avatars, you can refer to this book called Srimad Bhagavatam. It is one of the most important 18 Puranas. This is the topmost, best Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, and it has 12 cantos. So in Canto 1, Chapter 3, about the different incarnations, details are given. You will come to know about 24 major incarnations there. And also you'll come to know that of all these incarnations, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Lord Krishna is the chief. He is the source or the fountainhead. After explaining this, Krishna also explains something more about his appearance. He says, Arjuna, I come at different times, at different places, and I have a purpose. But you should know, though I do so many things and I take birth, it appears like I have taken birth. These activities are not common. They are transcendental. Janma karma chame divyam. They are not like ordinary humans' activities. They look like that, but they are not like that. And someone who understands this, that person in truth has understood everything about the Vedas, everything about the Supreme Lord. And that person gets real spiritual benefit. That person gets the perfection of spiritual life. So Arjuna asks, what is that benefit? What does that person get? And Krishna says, that person wins over the enemy. Now, which enemy is Krishna talking about here? Is he talking about Karna? Is he talking about 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗀 here? Is he talking about Duryodhan? Which enemy is Krishna talking about? If you understand this knowledge which Krishna has given now to Arjuna, Krishna says to Arjuna, you can win over the enemy. Which enemy? Let's see, what reply do we get from our viewers? Oh. Internal enemy, very good, thank you. So Krishna is talking about the enemy inside, and the name of that enemy is lust, Kam, which is a constant enemy, as Krishna explained in chapter 3, verse number 37. Kamesha krodesha rajoguna samudbhavaha. So, very interesting now. Let's study this enemy. I'll give you a very practical example. So this enemy lust, it leads to another very unpleasant experience, and that is the experience of fear. And that leads to anger. I'll give you an example, a very practical example to explain. It happened with me once, and it must have happened with you all also. So try to understand how lust leads to fear and fear leads to anger. Lust means desire. You want something. You have a goal. You want to achieve something. So this is the example of, let's say, you have to catch a flight. And from your house, the airport is 2 hours by road. And then you reach the airport, there would be then, you need to stand in the queue, you have to put your baggage for scanning, and then you go for check-in, then security checkup, and then you can do the boarding and sit on the flight. So, there are so many things to do. So sometimes there is a shortage of time. And if you have this 2 hours drive to the airport and there is heavy traffic, you have hired a taxi and you are telling the taxi driver, I need to reach on time. You see, this is the flight time. Please take me fast. Even the taxi driver asks you, sir, what time is the flight? Ma'am, what time is the flight? Instead of telling the right time, you say half an hour or 1 hour before that time. This time is the flight, so please take me as soon as possible. Now, if you find traffic jam, or if you find that the taxi driver is not really driving properly, he's calling people on phone, is very slow, distracted. Seeing all these things happening, you will have fear inside. Will I reach? Will I make it? What if I lose? Isn't it? So lust, desire, leads to fear. Will this desire be fulfilled? If not, what will be the consequences? I'll miss the flight. I have so many things to do there. People are waiting for me there. So this fear comes. And when there is fear, then if, let's say, the other person on whom you depend does a mistake, then there's an outburst of anger. Let's say that person breaks the signal. And then suddenly police catches up and says, you wait, and there's fine, and half an hour gets wasted there. Then you'll be really mad on that person. Why did you break the signal? We could have waited for 1 minute. Now we lost 30 minutes. So lust leads to fear. Fear leads to anger. So Krishna says, if you win over lust, you will become fearless. If you win over fear, you will win over anger. Gita teaches us so many things actually. And this is so scientific, so logical. That this is how these inner enemies can be won over. So then what is the end thing? The end goal, Krishna says, then you'll be free, freedom. It's called mukti, freedom from the prison house, which we discussed about in introduction. The invisible prison house which is around us. So in this section, what we discussed just now, the 10 verses which we did, you have to please tell me, out of the 4 questions which Krishna is supposed to answer in this chapter, which questions did Krishna answer? Remember those 4 questions which Krishna had to answer? So of those 4 questions, which questions? 1, 2, 3, or all 4, Krishna answered in these 10 verses. This is one section. From here, we'll go to another section. So waiting for your response. 4 problems? Oh, no. It seems you didn't hear the slide which we discussed before. Krishna had 4 questions to answer. No. 4th, no. Okay. 1st and 4th, no. Someone said 2nd. So if you know the question, you can. Okay, Vijay Krishna Mataji said, how the knowledge is received. Okay, very good. So basically, some of you are correct, partially correct. Krishna answered 2 questions, first 2 questions. First question was, what is this transcendental knowledge? So he gave that transcendental knowledge. Knowledge about Krishna himself. And second, how is that transcendental knowledge received? Please try to understand. How it is received? In parampara. Krishna spoke that. And what is that knowledge? 𝗟𝗶𝗳𝗏, verse number 6 of this chapter. And then the further few verses. That is that knowledge. So Krishna spoke that knowledge and Krishna said how to receive that knowledge. So these 2 questions were answered by Krishna. Of course, what is going to speak further is also a part of that knowledge. So then begins a new part in this discussion. Arjuna said, okay, I understand what you said till now, but the path which you are asking me to follow, I see people, all the people in this world, they don't follow that path. Either they don't want to follow or they can't follow. It's quite true. So many people read Bhagavad-gita, but they don't follow. Or they think it's too difficult to follow. Or they don't want to follow. So Arjuna says, what about them? And Krishna says, don't worry, Arjuna. I mean, they all accept me, but differently. Some people accept me 10%, some 20%, some 50%, 100%. So they believe me, they accept me, they surrender to me in different manners, in different quantities. And I deal with them accordingly. I don't deal with everyone similarly. The way they approach me, I reward them accordingly. But then all of them, they somehow or other, they come to me, to some understanding of me. They realize me to some degree. Even an atheist who says God doesn't exist, he uses the word God to tell God doesn't exist. Basically, it depends on God to use the word God, then to say God does not exist. So even they exist that there is a word called God. So to some extent, they accept, but not to 100% extent. So Krishna says they all would basically come to me, but they will come to me in my different forms. They would realize me in different manners. So this is very important to know from Bhagavad Gita, that there is this path of bhakti, which is straight to Krishna, to God. Very direct path, very safe path, 100% result is guaranteed. But then someone can take other paths also, and they would eventually in future lead to bhakti. So it can be the path of karma, the path of work, the path of jnana, the path of knowledge, the path of yoga, meditation and austerity, or the path of bhakti. So Krishna says, they all comes to me. So here again, we learn something very, very, very important here, that in achieving success, especially spiritual, our attitude has a very important role to play. How we approach Krishna decides how Krishna is going to respond and react and deal with us. Both ways. How we approach Krishna, and then that would decide how Krishna approaches us. So attitude, which means not that just approaching God is important. How do we approach? With what feelings, with what intention, what desires? So that decides how God is also going to reciprocate with us. So Arjuna says, who created all these paths? Why create so much of confusion? Just make one path and tell everyone straight, walk on this. Why so many paths and who created? And Krishna said, I created. I made this path. Krishna, why you are confusing people? Krishna says, Arjuna, please try to understand. There are different kinds of people. They have different desires. They are at different levels. How can they just follow one path? Because they have different desires, so they would like to or do different things in life. They want to have different kinds of experiences. Their levels are also different. They cannot understand everything. And that's true. Bhagavad Gita, it's available to all, but not all will understand. And all those who read it also will not understand to the same level. So people have different levels, different desires. They are different. And because they are different, there has to be different opportunities for them to grow gradually in spiritual life. Krishna is the best teacher. Like any good teacher, a good teacher knows if I have 40 students, these all 40 students may not all learn in the same manner. So I have to devise different means so that all of them they learn. The goal is all should learn. But then they all may not learn in the same manner. There are 7 kinds of intelligence, and that's how people explain nowadays. So different people have different kinds of intelligence and they learn differently. So the teacher works accordingly. He makes the lesson plans like that. So Krishna says they are different people and they want to learn differently. So why then? Why different people? Why different kinds of people exist? Because of different desires. They have different nature. Now, here Arjuna then puts a very interesting comment. He says, Krishna, in chapter 3 you told me you have nothing to do. You have no work. But here I see you have so much to do. I mean, you are a master manager, management of the world, management of people, and you have to teach everyone. I mean, you have so many things to do. And why did you say you don't work then? And Krishna said, this is the trick. This is what you need to understand, Arjuna, that though I work, I don't work, So we'll come to that later. First, look at this. What is Krishna's arrangement? 𝗟𝗶𝗂𝗏 𝗟𝗲𝗃. Here Krishna speaks about the 4 varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Krishna says, I made them. Now, this verse is very essential for any one of us who has confusions regarding why one is superior and why the other is inferior and why this division. Let's understand, these divisions are natural. They are not forced on the basis of birth. Birth does not decide. Gita does not say Krishna made these divisions on the basis of birth. Krishna clearly mentions in this shloka 4.13, you can check it out later in Bhagavad Gita. He says, 𝗟𝗶𝗂𝗏 𝗟𝗲𝗃, I made it. Guna karma vibhagashaha. This division is based on the what? Guna and karma. Guna means mentality. Both say mentality. And isn't that the natural way of differentiating between people? Someone has the mentality of a teacher, so that person is a teacher. Someone has the mentality of an army officer, so that person is an army officer. Birth does not decide that. It's the nature of the person what decides that. So this division is very helpful for keeping the society peaceful, for having balance in the society. And Krishna said, I have made it for proper functioning of the society so that all of them help one another to make spiritual progress. And they can be materially also happy. So guna and karma and the kind of work that decides. So we come to now that question of Arjuna, you seem to be doing so much. And Krishna says, yes, though I do so much, I don't do anything. And Arjuna says, this is very interesting. You do and you don't do. And Krishna says, yes. Why? Because I don't do it for my personal happiness. I don't do it for some personal material fruits. I do not desire the fruits of my work. I do nishkama karma. Work with detachment as a matter of duty. And then Krishna says, Arjuna, you should learn this art of work. Do your duty. Don't think about the result. And if you do this, many people in the past, they became successful. You will also become successful. Krishna already mentioned a person's name in chapter 3 who did this kind of work very nicely. In this chapter also, Krishna has been giving so many examples. Correct? Now, here, Krishna is telling you will be victorious, Arjuna, over these enemies. if you also follow this duty-based work. And that duty, the basis of that duty is knowledge, that I know, transcendental knowledge. What's my purpose in the creation? Okay, so here, why is Krishna again and again telling Arjuna in this chapter that Arjuna, you will be successful? Arjuna, people in the past have got success. Why? What is Krishna trying to do? Please try to understand. There is psychology involved here. Krishna is trying to counsel Arjuna. We can learn from Bhagavad Gita how to counsel people when they are in difficult times. When you want to tell something, when you want to guide them, advise them, how to do that. So Krishna is again and again telling the same thing to Arjuna. The people who did this, they have been successful. The people who did this, they have been successful. What is Krishna trying to tell Arjuna? Did I ask a very difficult question? Okay, yes, very good. To instill confidence into him. Yes, to completely remove his doubts, to have faith that yes, this will work for you also, right? This is very important. It will help me also. Huh? So this is very important. Yes, I agree with all of your answers, to increase his enthusiasm, energize him, right? And Krishna is telling him again and again his duty, he should fight, to make him believe this is true. Very good. So you see now, though Krishna is so much inspiring, motivating Arjuna, Arjuna is still having a question mark on his face. He is confused. He is not sure yet. I mean, it's not, yes, Krishna, I'm ready. He's not like that. He's, okay, I understand. So Krishna is able to read the mind of Arjuna by looking at his face. He is not able to understand how karma works. Arjuna is still thinking, I fight, I kill, and then I don't get sin for that. I don't become bound by my work. So Krishna, the concept which he explained in chapter 3 already, is going to repeat that. What is that? How karma works. We discussed this in last session, but Krishna is going to repeat. Kim karma kima karmeti. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you're thinking this is bad and this is not bad, this is good. Even intelligent people, they don't understand it properly. What is bad, what is good? Kim karma, kima karmeti. What should be done, what should not be done? What will bind us, what will free us? The intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj, when was questioned about karma, he said, I know so much, but karma is difficult to understand. So he's telling Krishna is telling Arjuna, try to understand it again better. He repeats that thing, karma, one thing, second thing, vikarma, third is akarma. In the last quiz, I don't know how many of you have done that, quiz number 4 on chapter 3, there was a big question with a lot of weightage on the division of activities based on, what kind of activity that is, and then you had to decide whether it's karma, vikarma, karma. I have not seen how many you got correct and how much you got correct, but in the previous batch when we did this quiz, many did wrong there. So here, karma again means pious activity, which means good activity. You don't do something wrong. You don't break the laws of God. That's pious, good. And that will be rewarded. We'll get some material reward for that. Vikarma means sinful activity, bad activity. And akarma, please try to understand. In Sanskrit or Hindi, it is something which makes the meaning opposite. Like gyan, if you want to say opposite of that, then that's agyan, knowledge and ignorance. So this is a qualifier which makes the meaning opposite. Wherever it's added, it's like that. Gyan, agyan, janma, ajanma, like that. So here when is added to karma, karma means action. So when you say akarma, it can mean no action. Don't do anything. But here it doesn't take that meaning. It takes a different meaning. I'll explain that more tomorrow in chapter 5. Akarma means an action which is neither good nor bad, but which is spiritual, which is devotional, which is done for God. Arjuna, if he fights for his own pleasure, then that would be not akarma. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight because I am telling you to fight. And Krishna is God. So fighting becomes akarma because it's being done for the pleasure of God. Vikarma will give bad result. Karma will give good result. Akarma will give no material result. Not that it won't give any spiritual result. It will give spiritual result, but no material result. No bad or good. No reaction, no bondage. So these first two, good activities, bad activities, they all give bondage. They increase the problems of life. They increase our stay in the prison house. And akarma gives us freedom from the prison house, called mukti or liberation. So we have to learn this very important lesson, but before we do that, I'll ask you a question. Now, from Bhagavad Gita, what do we understand? What we understand here, what kind of activities we need to learn to do every day, and we need to make all our daily activities in that particular category. Which one is that? Karma, akarma, or vikarma? Gita teaches us to do which of these three. Karma is not bad. It will give you a good result, but good material result. So Gita is teaching us to do which one? Because Gita is not a book about good material life. Of course, if you follow Gita, it gives us a good material life. But Gita is something beyond. So Krishna is teaching us, Bhagavad Gita is teaching us, as all of you said very correctly, to do akarma. Very important for us to understand. So the lesson here is, being good is not good enough. Human life is to be spiritual, which means God conscious or Krishna conscious. And being spiritual means not that I am nowadays being spiritual. Now people have made spirituality a fashion. Nowadays I am practicing some spirituality. I'm a spiritual person, by the way. No, being spiritual means one is actively engaged in spiritual activities. One must engage oneself in spiritual activities. That's called being spiritual. Practice spirituality. So then here, Krishna explains now something very important. I request all of you to pay attention to this. This is one of the most tough things to understand in Bhagavad Gita. It's quite mysterious and puzzling. Krishna says, Karmani akarma yah pashyet akarmani cha karma yah. He says, one who has understood and one who can see karma in akarma and akarma in karma, that person understands karma. Isn't that confusing? He says, one who has learned to see inaction in action and action in inaction, that person has understood the science of karma. What it means, inaction in action, action in inaction. What it means is this. With an example, it becomes clear. Here we see a person who perhaps, let's say, is a monk. We won't say which kind of monk and belongs to which religion. We just say a monk. Now this person has left everything in life. He does nothing. He just does some sort of meditation throughout the day. And then within the heart, this person is thinking, I'll become very popular after a few years. I'm meditating like this. People will think, this is such a great person. He is such a saint. And he must be very powerful. So I'll meditate. I'll do some austerity. And then I'll develop supernatural powers. And I'll become so powerful that I'll be able to control the minds of others. I can read their mind. I can do some magic in this way. I can have lots of followers, lots of money, and then I'll enjoy life. So externally, this person is very, very spiritual. He is doing akarma, not active at all, not doing the material duties in one sense. But within the mind, this person is very active. So this person is doing karma, though externally it is akarma. And then the other example is, here we have a person who seems to be a married man and must be going to a job, so many things to do in life. And then he takes out some time, goes in front of the Lord, takes up this instrument called mridanga, and he does some sweet bhajan singing or kirtan singing for the pleasure of the Lord. Now this person is very active, doing karma, playing the mridanga, making sound. But then this person is thinking about the pleasure of God. So here, though he's doing an action, that action will give no reaction. So this is akarma in karma. So Krishna says, if you are able to understand this, Arjuna, you will understand what is good karma, what is bad karma, and what is spiritual karma. So then Arjuna is very mysterious now. Very, very mysterious. This is something deep. I would like to know, how does that person work? What are the symptoms of such a person? Arjuna is a very good student. He asks so many questions because he thinks, he wants to understand, he wants to apply. So he's asking questions. Krishna says that person, he executes everything that person does. Take anything. I mean, even the simplest activity that we do in a day. Krishna says that person does all these things with a particular attitude. Gita is a book on attitude, not so much on aptitude. It's attitude oriented. It teaches us an attitude. So he says that person has these 5 things, 5 kinds of mindset, or 5 things make up his mindset, and that person works like that. First, that person does everything with satisfaction. It's not that the result gives the satisfaction to that person. That person approaches any work with satisfaction, with a satisfied heart, not grudgingly, oh, again the boring thing I need to do. No, that person is always very eager to do everything happily, in a satisfied manner. Second thing, that person is free from material desires. That's a tough thing, but Krishna is explaining the symptoms of such a person. This person is self-controlled. He is tolerant of dualities, which means dualities like heat and cold, honor and dishonor, happiness and distress, they don't shake him up. He's pretty strong, fixed. And then last thing, this person is free from envy. This is a very important quality. If we have this, we have most of the problems deleted from our life. If we can develop freedom from envy, at least on gross level, then on subtle level. So then when Krishna has explained this, then Krishna says, Arjuna, if you have this attitude, then what happens? You add 2 things to what you do. You do everything for yajna, sacrifice. We discussed yajna in chapter 3. Yajna. And with the knowledge which Krishna gave already, please try to make this calculation properly. First, you do it for yajna, which Krishna spoke about in chapter 3. Then Krishna gave a certain knowledge in chapter 4. You add that knowledge to that purpose. And then you have a particular attitude of doing things. When you combine this, then there is complete success. That's the whole package, which will give a result that we'll discuss in chapter 5. So here, now, like one of you asked me in the previous session, what are the different kinds of sacrifices? Here Krishna gives example to us so that we understand better what is meant by yajna. There are different kinds of yajnas. Yajnas, as I said, it's not just fire sacrifice or homa. It means any duty that we get to do from the Vedic scriptures. That's yajna. For a mother to feed breast milk to a newborn baby, that is also yajna. Yes, that's yajna. To clean the trash can in the house, that's also yajna. To drive to the office, that's also yajna. Yes. So any simple thing which is a duty, prescribed duty, coming to me, depending on where do I belong, in which varna, in which ashrama, that is yajna. So Krishna here explains about different yajnas, demigod worship. Here I've just put the list with the verse where you can find them, and you can read them in detail later on. Demigod worship, worshipping the demigods, is one kind of yajna. Brahman worship means they worship the supreme light. Then control of mind, sense enjoyment, self-control, charity, austerity. Mysticism here means yoga practice, Ashtanga yoga. Study of scriptures, pranayama. So he explains 10 different kinds of yajna or sacrifices. So here we have 2 questions for all of you. Right? Very important questions, very, very relevant questions. So to raise children is also yajna, yes. So what do you think? These are 10 different activities. Isn't it pretty clear? 10 different activities meant for let's say different kinds of people. Will all these 10 different yajnas or all different kinds of yajnas have different purposes, or they will have one purpose? Will they have many purposes or one purpose? Because the activities are different. Is the goal also different? What do you say? Or is just one? What's the answer? One obeys. When we say purpose, please try to understand not the purpose we decide for it, the original purpose for what it is meant. Not that, oh, I have my own purpose. No. Why Krishna gave these different sacrifices? Very nice. So many of you have said the right answer, one purpose. And what is that one purpose? One of you did mention that. To please God. Simple. That's the purpose. To please God. Different ways, one tries to please God. That's the beauty of Vedic scriptures. They help us to dovetail ourselves in whatever way possible to make spiritual progress. Now, again, I'll ask a very interesting question. By doing this Bhagavad Gita diploma course, all of us, which yajna we are doing? You are sitting in front of a mobile phone or computer. I am sitting in front of my computer. Which yajna we are doing? We don't have a fire sacrifice going on here, but we are doing a yajna. Which yajna are we doing here? That's pretty simple, isn't it? You just have to pick one from the list. Yes, number 9, study of scriptures. Swadhyaya yajna it's called. So all of you and myself also, we are fortunate that we are able to do this yajna. This will please Krishna. So we should do this yajna to please Krishna. Yeah? That's very, very helpful. And this way we'll make spiritual progress. So Swadhyaya yajna. So here, study of scriptures is the right answer. So Arjuna says, do these different sacrifices have a common purpose? Yes, Krishna says. And he says, the common purpose means basically it can give us so many different results. It will give us sense control, satisfaction, transcendental knowledge, liberation, but they all are one package, different things in one package. So then Krishna explains this now. If you work in this manner dutifully, this will give you what? Nishkama karma. If I do anything in this manner, nishkama karma, this will lead to and increase the knowledge. Which knowledge? Spiritual knowledge. Okay, so here the whole science was explained. So Krishna gave the third answer here. The third question was, how does duty lead to knowledge? And how does knowledge lead to duty? So Krishna explained here how dutiful work leads to more spiritual knowledge. If we work in this manner, we get knowledge from inside. By reading book, you get knowledge from outside. But if we work as per that knowledge, then that knowledge becomes a part of you. It becomes a limb of your life. It's very important. So then you begin to own that knowledge. So now here you see, Arjuna is very happy with what Krishna explained, but the process of yajna is not simple and easy. First of all, you have to understand different kinds of yajnas. You need to understand what yajna is meant for you. Then you have to do it every day. And after that, after long period of time, knowledge will be developed inside. So Arjuna says, is there a shorter way, a simpler way, a direct method of finding and getting this knowledge? And Krishna says, yes, that is there. There's another way, which is a shorter way, an easier way. And what is that is explained in this verse. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshyanti te jnanam jnaninastatvadarshinaha. A very important verse from chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, a guru who has spiritual knowledge. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. There are 3 things mentioned here that a disciple or a student must have. If a student has these 3 things, then the process of getting knowledge from the teacher is most complete. Then Krishna says, the self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Here comes a very important lesson from this verse that we should make a note of. 3 qualities make one a perfect student. These 3 qualities, what are they? First, eagerness. One should be eager. If one is not eager, no one can teach us. One should be eager. One should have that hunger for knowledge. I want to learn. I want to know. And for that, person has to be humble. If a person is not humble, that person will not be eager, because that person will think, I already know. I know Bhagavad Gita. So one has to be very, very eager. Like here, I can appreciate, of course, I can even take names, no problem. Here we have a person, his name is 𝗟𝗶𝗍𝗄. He's quite elderly to me, but he's very eager for Bhagavad Gita knowledge, because I've been doing these Gita courses since last 2 years online, and many times I do the same course again and again, but he never misses on them. He attends them again and again. So it's the same course, he does it all the different number of times with the same enthusiasm to learn. So we should have that eagerness. Second thing, we should be obedient. And the third thing, we should have gratitude, grateful nature. Gratitude means you are thankful and also you want to return in something, do something in return. So these three things are very important qualities any good student should have: eagerness, obedience, and gratitude. That makes us a perfect student. And then the knowledge that we receive will be received by us completely. So that Krishna explained here. And then Arjuna says, okay, you said go to a guru. I already came to you. In chapter 2, Arjuna did that. Verse number 7. 𝗟𝗶𝗳𝗏 Krishna, I want to become your disciple. Please accept me. Become my guru. So I became your disciple. Krishna said, Arjuna, that's why I'm giving you all this knowledge. Simple. You became my disciple. So I'm teaching you the entire transcendental knowledge. I'm giving you all this scientific understanding of different kinds of yoga. So Arjuna says, yes, that's true. Now, he again has a very interesting thing which is helpful to us. He says, you are giving me this knowledge. Is there a way to know if I am receiving the knowledge? Krishna says, what do you mean? He says, nothing wrong on your part. Maybe something wrong with me, you know. You are speaking it properly and perfectly. Perhaps I am not understanding or I am not getting it properly. So can I check whether I have received it perfectly? If you gave it to me, I am receiving it. Is there a way to check? How do I know that I understood or not? So Krishna then explains, yes, there is a way to do that also. Next verse, 4.35. 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗃 𝗟𝗶𝗳𝗏. He says, Arjuna, if you have understood Bhagavad Gita, now this is something which I like a lot, because if I have understood Bhagavad Gita, I have these two things. If I don't have these two things, go back to Bhagavad Gita, study it again. So first, never in life you'll be in illusion again, which means no more doubts, confusions, dilemmas. 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗃. No, never, na punarmoham. No illusion. Second, you will have a change in vision. You will see life differently. You will see people differently. You will see yourself differently. You will have a spiritual vision, not material vision. So you'll have these two benefits if you have understood. And then Krishna, finally, to conclude, he glorifies this transcendental knowledge. And he compares this transcendental knowledge to four things: boat, fire, fruit, and a sword. What is boat used for? It is used for crossing over a river, a sea, an ocean, which we cannot swim, right? So basically the idea is this knowledge will help us cross over insurmountable problems in life, difficulties, challenges, which we cannot swim over. So this knowledge is like the boat, which will take us across the material ocean. The whole material existence is compared to an ocean, bhavasagar. And it will help us to cross over. So this knowledge is the boat. When you travel in boat, you are safe. You don't drown. So with this knowledge, if we do any work, we will not sink. We will not drown. We will not die. We will remain spiritually alive. Next, fire. This knowledge is compared to fire. Fire has many qualities. It gives us illumination, but it also has another quality. It purifies everything. Whatever fire burns, that thing becomes purified. The sun rays, which has heat, when falls on a filthy thing, that filthy place becomes purified. So fire has this quality to purify. So Krishna says, even if your activities are seemingly wrong, sinful, killing is pretty wrong activity. Because you do it with the transcendental knowledge, this knowledge acts as fire and it purifies the activity, it purifies you. There is nothing more purifying than this knowledge. Third, this is fruit. This knowledge is fruit. Now, what is meant by fruit here? Why is comparing it to fruit? He says people, they read so many books and they hear so many talks and podcasts and they watch so many videos, and the libraries in the universities and public libraries are full of books. People acquire so much of knowledge. But all that knowledge, if you really have got the essence of that knowledge, then that knowledge is Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is like the fruit of the tree of vast knowledge that people have. This is the essence. If you know Bhagavad Gita, you know everything. You know the essence of everything. This is the conclusive knowledge. And the fourth thing, this knowledge will act as a sword. Anytime you have doubts in life, you can cut those, you can slash those doubts with this sword. You will be, what can I say? You will not get defeated in life by your own mind, by the doubts which are inside you. You will win because you'll have this sword, the sword of knowledge. So then here, after doing this, Krishna just finally instructs Arjuna. Arjuna, you should stand up, take this sword of knowledge in your hand, be armed with yoga and fight. In this way, this chapter ends, called Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. Know and do. You can start sending your questions now. We will take them. Again, this section comes in the section of self. Many lessons we learn, but last 5 conclusive lessons. Krishna is the best teacher. He knows how to teach whom. And that should be the quality of a teacher. Krishna could give any kind of examples to Arjuna to explain, but he's giving the most relevant examples. Arjuna is a fighter. So examples related to fighting will be easily understood by Arjuna. So he's giving the examples of people who are fighters, kings, warriors, rulers. He is giving the examples related to fighting. And so that way Krishna is standing out here as the best teacher. The next thing which we learn from this chapter is Krishna is accepting diversity. He's accepting the fact that people are of different natures. Different people, different natures, different minds, different desires, different levels of understanding. And we should be able to accommodate them. Not that some people are acceptable, some are not. A great person is someone who can actually accept and accommodate all different kinds of people. So that is second thing. Third, follow the great. Krishna has been doing that since the beginning. Arjuna is also having the same mood. If you want to be successful in life, in any field, spiritual, material, we must follow those who are great. We must follow the ideal. We must follow the best. Then success is for sure. So we should know whom we are following. We must follow to take inspiration, to take guidance, to get motivation. Fourth thing, which I really like, is the crux of this chapter. Krishna said, approaching a guru can make things simple for you. I mean, you do yajna and then you get the result of transcendental knowledge. So best is just go to a guru, ask, and all the transcendental knowledge will come. If you do 3 things, you are eager, obedient, and grateful. But then the challenge is that is possible only if one is humble enough. And people are not humble, not that humble. People, they are not humble. They think, I know the best. I cannot learn from others. I cannot come down, So Arjuna was told by Krishna, Arjuna, if you have humility, you can learn so much, and in such a short period of time. So humility attracts the grace. It has a special power. It attracts the grace and mercy. And by that, the knowledge flows faster. And the final thing, introspect. Arjuna is teaching us something very important. It is needed for any spiritualist. Don't become satisfied with your spiritual endeavors. And don't think that because you are making efforts, you are getting success or you are making progress. Always look inside. Check your own level of sincerity. How honest we are in our spiritual practices. Are we cheating ourselves or are we really, really sincere? Introspect. Have I made to the goal? Have I reached the goal? How far am I the goal? What I need to do to get there? What practices do I need to? What changes I have to bring in myself? Introspection, very important, very important. Arjuna is asking all these questions because he's introspective. Why? How? What? When? So many questions he's asking. So we'll stop here. The final glance at the whole chapter we discussed today, one of the most important chapters. You can start sending your questions if you have any, by the way, in the comment box. First, Krishna explained about the disciplic succession in first 2 verses. Arjuna asked, when did you teach this knowledge to the sun god? And then Krishna says, Krishna gave that transcendental knowledge. He said, I spoke a long time back because I don't appear like you. Both of us have appeared many, many times. You also came with me, but you have forgotten everything. I remember everything. And then Krishna speaks about the goal of all different paths. He has made all the paths and he's the goal of all the paths. Further, in detail, he spoke about karma, vikarma, akarma, and then he's explained how knowledge is born from sacrifice, and then he explained if we perform sacrifice, then that will lead to knowledge, and that knowledge will further lead us in doing more detached activity. So duty will lead to knowledge, knowledge will lead to duty. In this way, there will be increment in both of them. So finally, he ends the chapter by glorifying knowledge. If you know this knowledge, it's going to benefit you in so many ways. Let me just quickly make these announcements. The quiz link is in the description box of this video. So either you'll get it in the WhatsApp group or even in the description box. So anyone who's later watching the recording who is not in the WhatsApp group, don't worry. The quiz link is in the video description box. So just go there. You'll find the link there. It will be open soon. And you can come prepared tomorrow for chapter 5. Very short chapter, only 29 verses, but pretty deep, difficult also. But we'll try to make it simple. Come prepared for that. Thank you very much. Now let me take some questions. So we have one question from 𝗟𝗶𝗳𝗏. What to do if a person is not at all interested to know what is there in Bhagavad Gita? Well, it depends now. You're talking about whom. So I cannot say. It depends on whom you're talking about. A stranger, your family member, your friend. You're talking about yourself. So if person is not interested, we try to inspire that person now. Details will come when, I don't know, you're talking about whom. And not able to understand, even if attempting to. Oh, that's pretty simple. If not able to understand, don't think we can understand Bhagavad Gita in just one reading. It's spoken by God. And we have such less intelligence. So we should read again and again. We should not be demotivated. And I'm sure if anyone does this Gita Diploma course, you will understand Bhagavad Gita so much better. So, and if you still don't understand, then maybe you're not attending it properly, because so many people have told me they understand Gita much better after they've done this course. So convince that person to read Bhagavad Gita. Try. Okay, you said about your relative. You see, try to convince. And if someone is not listening at all, then wait for time, good proper time to come. Not everyone is always ready to receive the right knowledge. So we should have patience with such people. You can send me doubts in WhatsApp. Yeah, if you're a part of the WhatsApp group, Gita Diploma course, we had put a contact number there, a helpline number. You can send your doubts there, and then that will be forwarded to me. I'll reply to that. Of all the knowledge we receive, how do we bring them in actual practice in a materialistic life? I'm sorry, but if you are really attending these sessions properly, we are giving you so many practical lessons. I mean, what can be more practical than this? We are giving so many examples, practical lessons. What more practical? Just having that knowledge gradually will change your way of thinking, and then you will come to know how to apply that in life. So the first most practical thing to do is open Gita and read it. If you don't read it, we're not going to benefit it. And then when you read it, then you try to understand, and then you pray to Krishna. How can I be more tolerant? Krishna will guide you from inside. So this is all very practical. We just need some common sense, and we should be sincere. Many people are applying Bhagavad Gita. How did Nelson Mandela get so much of inspiration from Bhagavad Gita? What he did was something very, very practical. He helped the black fight for their rights. Very practical activity, and it's something material, not spiritual, isn't it? So how did he get the inspiration? Next, one of your relatives is at hospital, and the doctor said only prayers can work. What can you do? So you pray. What else can you do? Pray. And if that person is supposed to live for more time, that person will live. If that person is not supposed to live for more time, then we need to accept that also as a reality. We cannot say because we pray that person must live. Everyone has certain time to spend in this world. So if that time is finished, that person will leave the body, and that's quite natural. We should accept it. Let's not be very sentimental. This is a plain truth about life, and we should be accepting that much. How do you study in Bhakti Yoga? Well, if you study for the pleasure of Lord Krishna, and if you study it in this idea that this studies can help you later on to glorify Krishna, to do some service to Krishna, that's Bhakti. Okay, so being grateful, being dutiful, and also being eager to offer the results to Krishna, that makes it Bhakti. We know that Krishna is Paramananda. What is the need to please him separately by doing a yajna? Very nice question. Krishna is Paramananda. He's ever satisfied. Even if we don't do yajna, he's going to be satisfied. But we do that because when we do that, we become satisfied. Simple. If we don't follow the laws made by the government, there's nothing wrong for the government that's going to happen. But we are damaging ourselves, destroying ourselves. So why we do the right thing? Not for God. We do it for ourselves. It's for us we do. And second thing, God is a person. Though he's satisfied, when we put efforts to satisfy him, he becomes pleased by that. Try to understand, it's not very difficult. He has spiritual emotions, and we are his children. He is satisfied in himself. He doesn't need anything from us. But love is not about needs. If you understand love, you'll understand this thing. If I need something from you and you give it to me, that's not really love. Pure love can only exist between two people who do not actually need anything from one another, but they try selflessly to offer something. That's called love, right? So here, when we say yajna is to satisfy Krishna, is based on love. Though Krishna doesn't need anything, out of love, out of gratitude, we offer to Krishna. And when we do that, because we did an act of pure love, we will ourselves be very, very happy, satisfied. Okay, I'll just take one more question. We did this with Devadashi. How to recite shlokas, Vilashi, in this same YouTube channel. I have done almost 85 sessions on Bhagavad Gita shlokas. In each session, we have taught in 15 minutes how to memorize that verse, how to memorize the meaning of that verse, a small lesson from that verse. So check it out. And you can, even small kids, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they could memorize using those sessions. I'm sure you will also be able to do that. Sloka 6 purport, original eternal form, 4-handed Narayan or 2-handed Krishna. When it says original eternal form, it has to be 2-handed Krishna. Okay? That will be pretty clear in chapter 11 when we discuss about different forms of Krishna. So here we end. Thank you so much. Today being the first day of the year, I'm very happy to spend some of my time with all of you. I enjoy doing this, to share the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. It makes me also learn Bhagavad Gita better. And we'll see you again tomorrow, same time. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.